Hey guys, this is Myk. It's a quarantine time. We've all been sitting at home, trying to entertain ourselves and trying to find things to do. I myself have been actually isolating myself from March 10th, so it's been over months now. Today is April 11th. I actually wanted to since I'm home, I'm not trying to, everybody's an influencer now, everybody's trying to build their own community, but I'm actually trying to record a little bit of what I'm doing during this incredible time where I'm stuck in my apartment by myself over a long period of time, where I have very limited work that I'm doing right now to multiple reasons. And I would like to talk about different types of topics over a course of next couple of days. Some reasons it's just a way for me to express some of the thinking that I have, but also about sort of putting in the record of what I'm doing in this particular time. Every one of us has a sort of time that they can spend, and there's a lot of topics and there's a lot of things that are going to be changing because of coronavirus. There's a lot of things that happening in the economy. There's a lot of things that are happening in the way we're going to be working, and this crisis will accelerate the things that have been going in certain ways. So one of those big trends that we see is that working from home. And working remotely, working from home. We have seen a lot of conversation about that in the last couple of years, and there's a lot of companies, a lot of VCs, investors that talk about how you can be effective working from home, and the benefits can be clear. You don't have to commute to your office. You also don't have to waste a lot of effort to build offices if you're on a company side, and it provides a little bit of more productivity that the people can get and companies can get from people actually being remotely and working from home. However, it's important to point out that I'm not a big fan of working from home, and I think that yes, trend is going that way, and I think it will be stupid to deny that we're going to be working from home more and more often. But it's important to understand that working from home has disadvantages, and working remotely. I'm kind of putting this in the same category right now just for the purpose of this discussion. And the reason for that is a lot of work that we're going to be doing, a lot of work we do now in tech and those industries that drive the economy are basically creative work. And what happens in creative work is that there's a lot of communication that happens, and that communication is actually happening when people get together, and that communication is not formal. It's not communication that you get from one-on-one or from the meeting. It's where you come into environment of your office, you meet like-minded individuals, you go for lunch break, or you come in, you get a coffee together, you ask what they're working on, what are the ideas, what you're working on, what kind of problems, and that's what sparks creativity. And if you look at very important companies in the 20th century that were very creative, companies like Bell Labs, for example, that had an incredible innovation built in their organization. Companies like HP, who were famous about the way they done things, the way they build products, the way they organize their the way they worked. Then the company like Disney, who were extremely creative. One of the most important things for them was to how they can be more and more creative, and how they can use the potential of everybody in the company to spark that creativity. And there's also a company like Apple. And if you look at all of those companies, they spend a lot of time thinking about how the office is organized, how you can build the office where people feel comfortable, they feel safe. At the same time, how they can allow to build the environment where people mingle with each other all over the different parts of the company, different parts of the office. And we know that when Disney was building their campus, they were spent a lot of times planning what are those places in the campus where people can mingle. The same way Jobs was very particular about how he wants to build his office at Apple, because he wanted people to collaborate together. The same thing happened at Bell Labs. And when we're thinking about working remotely, we need to understand that it's going to be much more difficult to keep that creativity culture, because if you're going to move it out, you need to proactively try to think about how you can create those environments over a long distance where you can actually have the creativity going. And while yes, is going forward, yes, working from home or working remotely will save you time. However, you have to actively plan for creativity, because it's going to be very difficult. Think about this. You're working on something creative, you have a question, you can type it on Slack, or you can maybe set up a call on Zoom, like, hey, let's jump quickly on a call. And compare that working in a very dynamic office where you can walk or even turn around and ask somebody to help. What do you think about this problem? Oh yeah, John. And somebody overheard you in the company, and your another colleague actually suggested something else. So that is what type of this communication and this informal communication that sparks creativity that extremely important to think about when you're moving remotely. So I'm gonna, based on my experience, and I work with a few companies that have been working remotely, and I'm gonna point out a couple of things that I believe is important if you want to improve your company and your employee collaboration while you are working remotely. So the first thing is that make sure that you have a regular meetups and check-ins, and it doesn't have to be a specific agenda. I know we all in our regular office environment think that you have to have a meeting agenda, and it's good, because if you don't have an agenda, the meeting might be just a waste of time. However, when you're remotely and you actually extract yourself from those casual conversations that you might have in your organization, it is important to just be able to be comfortable to know that let's have those meetings where we just talk about how's everybody's doing, what they're working on, and have these team meetings on 20-30-minute meeting, even daily, because it's allow us to catch up on that casual conversation and get that context of what's happening in the team, what's happening in the company. So think about that. Make sure you have regular check-ins where people don't have to have an agenda, where people can just share their concerns, their feelings, and then you're going to improve the way the creativity flows and the way you do things in your organization. Number two, it's becoming more and more important to document your processes. What I mean by documenting your process, so I'm working with a company that organize online conference, and there's a lot of companies going to be doing more and more of that. We're going to see that companies going to move online in terms of building the conferences, presentations, so forth. And during that experience, we have to create this meeting, and there is a certain things that you have to worry about, like do we have the appropriate link in invitation? Do we have what is the content we use to invite people? What is the content that we use to send the information to the speakers? And a lot of that is extremely difficult to understand if you don't have people to explain to you. So somebody sends you a document and say, hey, review this doc for conference content. And you open this doc and you see the content, but what missing, is the content. It's a context, meaning that when you create those type of documentation, think about creating the context, meaning that if you open the doc about the content for the event page, make sure you have a goal, like what is the goal of this event? Make sure that you talk about who's the target audience for this event. Make sure that you're talking about what do you want to talk about this actually particular page. And all those small type of things will allow me, when you share this doc, actually get the context well enough that I can go in and have that and do whatever I need to do there, whether it's a create content or edit. So make sure that you document your processes. And when you document your processes, like for example with events, you want to make sure that it's a step-by-step process. Don't forget things. It's basically like a bullet points, because you want to keep that information and you want to add this information. And this is a knowledge base that your organization will rely. So every time you're going to have a new event coming up, you don't have to search, you don't have to create everything from scratch. And even if the person moves on and goes to work for a different company, you still have this doc, and basically somebody looking at it has all the context about it and doesn't have to spend a lot of time understanding everything that's happened there. So number 3 is, and by the way, before I move to number 3, when you think about documenting process, also think about creating short videos. Since it's difficult when you remotely to get everybody at the same time to have a conversation. So basically what I started doing is that I make a quick video, maybe it's a 3-5 videos, and say, hey, this is what I have done, this is the context, this is what I'm planning to do next, and just post it in a regular Slack channel. And this way the team can review what I'm doing and provide comments, and it's a little bit more interactive, and you don't spend a lot of time just typing those messages where, you know, in Slack that you have to catch up. It's 2 days later, you have a lot of conversations that go in a lot of different directions. So try to use different types of media, and videos could be very effective in communicating with your team. Number 3, make sure that you and your boss or your somebody who reports to you have a regular check-ins. And I know it's kind of related to step number 1, where you want to have check-in with the team, but here's the more personal aspect, because again, we are taking ourselves away from the context of daily interactions that would typically happens in the office. So when we have those interactions outside remotely through the different medium and writing and messaging and videos, we still have to have this context. We need to have this close connections with each other, where we understand what our goals are and what we have to do to achieve those goals. And in this particular way, I really subscribed and really like this idea of a leader-to-leader approach of managing people. And the idea here comes to that, as you are an employee and you're talking to your boss or to your manager, to your leader, what you want to do is that you want to make some sort of a very brief outline or just bullet points of what are you working on, what are the challenges that you're facing currently, and what are your things and what are you planning to do. And this way you're basically leading the response to everything that happened in your particular area domain of expertise, and that will allow you to your boss or your leader to actually be more proactive. Doesn't tell you what to do. You come in to him or to her with ideas where you can say something that I really this is really good, you know, I can help you with this problem that you have, and by the way, you know, maybe it's this one that you shouldn't do, or try something else. So those type of things where you are more proactive about the problems and about the idea how to solve these problems will allow you to be more effective as a team. So while we all have to understand how to work remotely, we have to change a little bit and understand that a lot of context that happened in our environment, in creative environment that we have in the offices, that we're going to be removed from that. And we have to have a very proactive steps to improve the environment and communication in organizations to have this context and this small conversation and this creativity types of conversation happening on a regular basis. Thank you very much. This is some of my thoughts that I decided to share with you. It ended up to be a little bit longer, but I'm planning to talk about other stuff as well. I hope you guys have a great quarantine, and I hope you guys using that in a very productive way. I hope you wake up in the morning. I hope you meditate. I hope you write your morning journal. I hope you do yoga. I hope you work out. I hope you read. I hope you're taking on some creative projects like drawing. I hope you put some new challenges. And those are the things that can make this quarantine time actually quite interesting. Thank you so much, and stay safe, stay home. Thank you.